Hello and welcome once again to Phoenix World Championship. This time we welcome you from the legendary Nürburgring. The sprint layout of this circuit greets you once again for the second time in a row in these beautiful DTM machines, where we're gonna try and see who is the fastest one this time around. We have 14 drivers on the grid ready to take the start as they qualify now with just over 5 minutes left on the clock. I see 13 drivers setting qualifying laps so far, with one driver, Trampel, is currently sitting in the pits and waiting. Another car, 000 of Gunzer's rejoined the pits now, so we do have... Okay, he leaves the pits now, so we have 13 cars on track right now setting the laps. Photon is done with his for now, as we switch to our current championship leader, car number 71, McLaren Tim, who's currently driving and currently on pole with the result of 1:20.745. Not as fast as the last year, but the temperature is probably not gonna be perfect for record lap times, as we are currently tracking 9 degrees Celsius air and track temperature, and it's probably not going to be improving by entirely too much, so it's going to be quite difficult to figure out the fastest way around the track compared to last year, where it was nice and warm. 4 minutes left on the clock, still 13 cars setting lap times, and one car still waiting to take their turn in the pits. We do have all 13 setting valid lap times now, so we do see them. And actually I was lying, as Photon Burst is currently on pole and Tim is 0.043 behind. I'm too used to car number 71 being the fastest that I automatically assume he would be the fastest car on track right now. Speaking of track, we do have some track information for you, and while the drivers are qualifying, let's go right to it. 11 turns on that sprint track, 7 right, 4 left, and most of them are a little bit deadly. We start at Haughagen. The very fast straight precedes that turn and the whole Mercedes arena, and very sharp, slow first gear turn, which is downhill, and after Mercedes arena and the shortcut you arrive at Michelin curve, which has the AstroTurf on the outside, treacherous AstroTurf, and if you use it too much, and the drivers will definitely try to use it a lot, especially during qualifying times, if you go a little bit too wide, there is a high possibility that you will just spin on entry and not go anywhere fast. Then coming through the second half of these S's, the Warsteiner curve, and through the kink you arrive straight into NGK chicane, the GT chicane, which is the slower one, sorry, the Formula 1 chicane, the slower one, which presents an overtaking opportunity there, compared to the faster GT chicane, which is just feeding cars back onto the last corner, essentially. And the last turn, the Coca-Cola curve, basically your lawn hairpin, which is Hungarian-esque, if you will, Hungaroring-esque. Couple of lines to the turn overall. We're not sure what would be the fastest one if we're taking it side by side, as both drivers will be compromised, but the long straight with potential for DRS, at least for a bit of it, and then hard braking into a very, very hard turn would prove challenging no matter what. So I don't think it matters where you exit, it matters how you exit. And speaking of how people do things, here are the current standings, as the drivers still have a little bit of time to set their laps. As for the team standings, Timberwolves on top, and now with over 1,000 points, complete domination. And the closest battle in the championship is between PRT Black and Monterey Simsport. Just 16 points separate these two, as PRT Black is now right behind their sister team, PRT Gold, occupying second and third spot on the podium. As for driver standings, McLaren team with now 50-point gap with 2 rounds to go to Fortin Burst, so Fortin might want to win everything and hope something happens to Tim. Further down in the grid, you see a close battle for 4th place between Waffles and Mr. Grinder. Just 2 points separate the lads, with G-Man looking from behind, 23 points back, but still in the contention. A lot more people joining our ranks, with the overall table being more saturated with 19 drivers on it, and obviously it's all up to play for in the second half of the championship. As more drivers show up, some drivers don't. Speaking of drivers who show up and don't, here is car 15 of Gemini, the lad who started this season and now able to rejoin the field with his brand new hardware and now ready to take the challenge. He's currently in 5th, 0.7 behind Fortin Burst with 121.4 fastest time. 3rd and 4th are Gunses and Mr. Grinder, currently 2 PRT gold cars, but he is the best of the rest right now. Let's see if he's able to improve during the weekend as the time runs out, and I believe he will be one of the first cars, the second car to cross the checkered flag. The first would be Psychedelics, currently in 7th. Gemini crosses the line in 5th. He improves, but that's not good enough to catch Mr. Grinder in 4th. Speaking of Mr. Grinder, he'll be the next car to take the flag, and he'll do it on pit road, so he's not gonna set a lap. Next car would be the Swede Waffles, a little bit slow exit, I believe. Let's see if he's electing to finish his lap. He does. He's currently 6th. He needs about 3/10 to pass Gemini for 5th position as he crosses the line with the time not exceeding his previous results, so he stays right where he was. Trampale is the last car, I believe, to finish. He crosses the line and he stays in 12th position. So we do have our grid set. Fortin Burst is on pole, 120.745 is your pole time. Just 0.04 of a second short is McLaren team, his teammate. Gunz is in 3rd, Mr. Grinder, 2/10 between each of them, as the drivers filter onto the grid, and we're waiting to go green in just over a minute, I believe, as we're trying to figure out our cameras. Pardon me a moment. There we go. Alright. Row number 3 will be Gemini, the returning Total Downforce racing driver alongside Waffles. Psychedelics with a great result in 7th position alongside his teammate G-Man 17002 in 7th and 8th. Not James is in 9th position. Jesus Christ, this camera can chill out. Salt Cedar in 10th, Neon Tiger qualifies in 11th, Trampale in 12th, Finn, the first rookie and the only rookie of this race, in 13th, just ahead of Monochromatic, who rounds out our grid in P14. 30 seconds before we go green for the first race at Nürburgring this year. Let's see if the drivers can manage to keep it tight, nice and tidy into turn 1 with a bigger grid than some of them are used to. We do have lights on and we are away for the first race at Nürburgring. Better start from McLaren team as he goes off the grid. A little bit of wheel spin. Looks like the entire grid is just able to get around as they're streaming towards turn 1, side by side between 2 leaders, and looks like Photon manages to stay inside and secure his lead as the rest of the field is filtering through. Looks like everybody is more or less clean as we continue. McLaren team settles for 2nd right now. Behind them, 2 PRT gold cars breathing down each other's necks. We do have a bit of a gaggle further down the grid. That is car 17 of car 17 of Trampale and Salt Cedar chasing 2 PRT black cars. So far, single file between everybody involved. Nobody is risking to go diving into the shortcut, and before the S's, it would be very unfortunate place to lose the car. It's not a really overtaken spot as it is. Further up the grid, we do have two PRT gold cars being chased by Waffles. Manages to get ahead of Gemini. We do have a couple of passes. Looks like Psychedelics did not have a great exit. He got passed by G-Man and Trampel, and he tries to regain at least a position from Monterey Sim Sport. Remember, this is championship implications here between the two teal and two black cars, as Trampel is going side by side with number 19, the American G-Man. Not really the best of exit, but he'll try his luck here onto the start-finish straight and maybe into turn 1. He looks, goes on the inside. It's not protected by car 19 as he tries to break deep. And not good enough. Round the outside goes G-Man. We've seen that move plenty of times earlier today in Formula 1 race. The car on the outside is able to get on the throttle just a tad bit earlier and secure that gap. Trampel stays in 9th position. Further down, Neon Tiger fell to 12th with a great start by his rivals and is now under pressure from Finn, who's looking to get some spots of a very large issue there in the exit from the turn I will probably never pronounce perfectly. I will attempt that later, I do promise. Though he recovers the car and is still hot on the tail of the number 12. Take this entry. Somebody definitely missed the chicane. That's G-Man, and he's parked very badly. He's in the way of Neon Tiger, who I believe also missed the corner a little bit. Everybody rejoins, but that was a little bit of a mess all around. As G-Man rejoins behind everybody in 14th position out of 14. That is definitely not a good look for PRT Black. Meanwhile, Monochromatic, thanks to that, got around Neon Tiger as well as Finn, so the American finds himself in 13th. Looking up the order, Psychedelics is now pressuring Trampel, trying to go inside and around the outside. It does not exactly work. Remember, the rules about track limits are way stricter than in Formula 1. If you go all 4 tires over the white line, that will be against the rules. So the drivers are trying to be as cautious as they can, especially out of that turn 4, where there is a lot of potential to extend the track. Let's say nothing would stop you due to how grippy the outside is. A little bit of faster turf can be straight lined, and further ahead, I'm trying to switch the cameras. We do have a battle for the lead. There is a touch, there is a bounce, and there is Photon Burst. Not being given an inch by his teammate McLaren Tim, is doing everything in the world to get ahead and stay ahead. That was a little bit of a bumpy, and now he's under fire from Mr. Grinder. Photon Burst tries to go deep. Does not exactly work. And McLaren team is now in the lead of the race. There was a little bit of a hard move and no love lost between two teammates, and we'll talk about that more later as we discuss the support series results. But for now, team is in the lead, and now he's getting away a little bit, 0.7 of a second gap. And what is behind him is one gigantic train. We see all of these cars in contention for podium. Behind Photon, it's Mr. Grinder, Gunsis, Waffles, and Gemini, all within a second of each other as they are aiming to complete lap number 4. Coming through NGK chicane, a little bit of a corner cut from Gunsis. He is slow to get going, and now Waffles goes around, and Gemini tries to do the same, and he completes the move for now. Gunsis tries to get back around, but he slots behind. Let's see if there's gonna be a move into turn 1. Gunsis drops from 4th all the way down to 6th, challenging Gemini into turn 1 on the inside. A deep move. Gemini is looking for a crossover potentially, but not close enough, as Gunsis gets back to 5th. And basically on the brink of disaster, he still loses a place. Further down, we still have a battle as Psychedelics manages to get around car 17 of Trampale. We did not manage to catch that on screen. He's now hot on not James's tail. James started further down, I believe in 9th or 10th, but managed to get his way past through good moves and inconsistencies of his rivals. But now Psych finds himself in a little bit of Monterey Simsport sandwich here. 73 and 17 are around it with Saltcedar, not exactly too far as well if somebody makes a mistake. Looking back, G-Man managed to get around both Monochromatic and Neon Tiger and up to 12th place, about 5 seconds behind this group we're spectating right now. Psychedelics is on the defensive against Trampale. Oh, a little bit of a slide. I'm not sure if there was a touch or not, but Psychedelics got loose and 17 of Trampale got around him. A little bit of a German battle going on now. Trampale in 8th, another German Psychedelics in 9th, and another German Saltcedar in 10th. We do have a little bit of a German field, which only makes sense for DTM machinery, as we are approaching a halfway point of this race slowly but surely. For 4th position, Gunsis, the Latvian, got closer to Waffles and will try to get an overtake done. DRS was open on that small straight. We do have allowed 3 uses per lap, same 12 laps as usual, a little bit loose for Latvian here. But the track is rather short with basically 2 straightaways, and one of them contains the bend, which is right ahead as DRS is open. Let's see if Gunsis is able to keep his DRS open as he navigates the bend. Yes, no problem. But you have that to start finish straight and no more straights really. So that short run is basically the only opportunity to use DRS and not really waste it. But Gunsis, with that small unsettlement of a car, lost a little bit of time and is now trying to get back. Meanwhile, Trampale is hot on the tail of his teammate, but Psychedelics, that black and green Audi, is now pretty much wanting to get what he lost a couple of laps ago. Meanwhile, there's a teammate battle, now James on the inside trying to defend. 17 goes round the outside. Is he able to go deep enough? He might go deep, but the problem is now he has a car alongside him, and Psychedelics looked to pinch him, but decided against it because they're a little bit wobbly for car 17, a bit all over the place, but managing to keep his place. Attempt of a crossover by 14, who stayed on the outside trying to look inside, but did not work. He needs to look behind him as well as he goes on the defensive hard against car number 16, Saltcedar, behind. He saw him at the last possible moment and moved his car alongside. A little bit of sketchy move in my eyes, but I am definitely not the judge, so I'll leave it to the drivers and the race control to figure it out. No harm done whatsoever anyway, so we continue. Gunsis manages to get around Waffles, a little bit of a bump in the rear from the Swede, a little bit of a go fast bump, I guess, as both him and the Latvian would love to get away from as soon as I switch a pass happens. That's not fair, boys. Oh well, very loose for car 17. Trampale is fighting that car with all his might as he was trying to challenge not James again and figure it out, but so far he stays in 8th place and stays under fire from his fellow German, who goes on the outside. Deep move, and this time it works. What a send by PRT Black Driver as he advances to P8. Brilliant send. But Trampale, not to be outdone, tries to send into turn 3. Mercedes Arena provides all kinds of entertainment as he tries to go around the outside. He needs to be aware of challenge behind. He now goes on the inside with a crossover, and 2 cars is difficult to fit in that shortcut with that hard bump in the middle. Psychedelics gives way, but does not give up the fight. Spectacular battles all over the field. Further down, we do have Finn battling with Saltcedar. That whole bunch is still together. Further up, Geminite is still challenging the duo of Waffles and Gunses as they complete lap number 9. Further back, McLaren Tim does not have that much of a gap as he is challenged for the lead by Photon Burst, who tries a crossover. Trempel falls down to 12th place. Something happened to him in the NGK chicane as we were watching the battle for the lead. Trempel falls all the way down to 12. As I said earlier, one mistake and that whole pack goes around you. It's just that tight in midfield, but we do have to spectate battle for lead. Finn goes around Zaltzider, as we see on the time, in 28. He's driving with all his might. He does have a PRT gold car of Mr. Grinder behind him. Mr. Grinder is battling with Waffles in the championship. We do have about 17 sorts of battles heading back. Oh, there's a 3-wide G-Man with Trempel and Finn. Finn is now side by side with Zaltzider. We'll have to watch everything about this. Finn goes a little bit wide. Zaltzider is on the inside trying to get something done. He goes around. Pitbull ahead of him. G-Man and Trempel trying to figure it out in the S's. And Trempel is ahead. It's impossible to figure everything out. The drivers are all over the place today. Spectacular battles. I'm not even sure what to look at, but now Psychedelics is all clear from behind to attack Not James for 7th position. Waffles is under investigation for DRS infraction. I'm not sure if he was too far or too many times or what happened, but we're switching to the leading pack. We do have about, 4 separate battle packs. 1st through 3rd, 4th through 6th, 7th and 8th, and 9th through essentially 13th right now. Monochromatic was a little bit slower. He's now 8 seconds back of Neon Tiger, who's in 13th, and still 7 minutes plus 1 lap to go for the drivers to figure it out. The battle for the lead alive as ever, with 3 drivers now within DRS of each other. Further down, car number 19, PRT Black entry of G-Man is chasing down Trempel, but himself being chased down by Saltseeder. Saltseeder electing the slower inside line, a little bit of wobble on the track exit, and stays behind, a little bit strung out this pack, but obviously the battle is far from over for everybody involved. That whole pack from 7th to 13th, stopping a little bit, I guess having a break from battles, not necessarily stopping, but having a break as Saltseeder goes very late on the brakes, misses the chicane, and now under fire from Finn as they go into the last turn. Finn is not substantial enough alongside to challenge for position, but that definitely hurt Saltseeder's chance of getting around G-Man. Further up, Photon is now 1 second back from McLaren team. He's definitely more preoccupied about keeping his 2nd place rather than attacking for the lead, as Mr. Grinder is hot on his tail. Less than half a second between those 2 drivers. And looking at the best laps, right now, Mr. Grinder actually holds the best lap of the races. I'm looking 121.057, 121.2s for McLaren team and Photon Burst. And the next best lap would be 122.3 from G-Man and Trempel. So that's all happened. And G-Man got around Trempel meanwhile while we were talking. And Finn got around Saltseeder, so another battle was happening. That was out of the S's. That swap for positions happened. Saltseeder finds himself in 12th place now in hot battle. Gemnite, once that camera unscrews itself, is in pursuit of P number 5 by Waffles. Gunsis slowly but surely driving away from that bunch. So it looks like it will be Waffles versus Gemnite for P number 5. The Audi versus the BMW. As 2 Mercedes are in the lead, leaving 2 other constructors to fight for scraps. And 3 Audis now picking up those scraps with a huge BMW battle in the back of a pack. Essentially, the top 6 drove away and now everybody from P7 down is more or less in the park. One mistake and everybody's within 10 seconds of you. Here we look at the lean bunch of the pack, Not James and Psychedelics, the driver owner of Phoenix Racing Teams, PRT Black and PRT Gold. As he proceeds on his chase, 3.5 minutes left, 1:21.1 from McLaren team, an answer from Photon Burst, 1:20.9, and a battle into the NGK chicane. Psychedelics tries to go around the outside, not successful, not late enough on the brakes. Not James keeps his position for now. A whole bunch of fast laps. As soon as I announce the fastest laps overall, that's on lap 13. So Photon now holds the fastest lap of the race overall, as he's back within 1 second of McLaren Tim and 1 second away from Mr. Grinders. So that was a lap for the ages for the Dutchman, as he's still trying to get that victory away from his teammate and all to himself. As we switch to his camera and we go on board with number 28 entry of Timberwolves racing hard over the curb on the exit of the Michelin curve. Out of the Warsteiner curve and Advenbogen next. This kink into the NGK chicane for hard braking. DRS wide open, trying to brake as late as possible, but not too late, not to clip that high sausage curb on the outside, which will unsettle the car a whole lot into the last turn, the Coca-Cola curve. A little bit wider entry for McLaren team so he can get on the throttle earlier. Tighter from Photon Burst. DRS open for a little bit and they basically match times. So both of them are hard on the throttle. You see the late braking into turn 1, the Haughaken, and both try to stay within track limits as they navigate a deceptively difficult Mercedes arena, turns 2 and 3 with a lot of astroturf on the outside. If you dip your wheel there, it will be very difficult to recover. Photon Burst once again goes for a little bit different line from McLaren team, but time-wise, looks like both of them have the same result, as Psychedelics and Not James are in a hot battle. That is a turn 1 and into Mercedes arena they go side by side. Psychedelics tries to hang around the outside, but not successful enough. We saw Salt Cedar being investigated. There's a touch, there's a bump, and good save from Not James as he continues. A little bit of a love tap from Psychedelics behind. He does not go for an overtake there. We do have a yellow flag in sector 3. That would be monochromatic. Stuck into turn 1, trying to refire his car and get going. Still yellow flag as the leaders are approaching. Now we see on the map that he is going once again. So the yellow flag is gonna clear about now. The track is clear and the battle for 7th continues between Not James and Psychedelics. Two drivers hard on each other's tails with championship implications. Once again goes inside. That's a hard defensive move by Not James, leaving Psychedelics nowhere to go, but looks like just in time without having to block. Once again on the defensive goes 73. Psychedelics will have to go round the outside. We go on board. You see that car on the right still a little bit ahead. Now hard on the brakes. Psychedelics tries to go around the outside, tries a crossover. And let's see if he has enough pace to get around. There's a tap. Another tap between those two. They keep their positions, but keep losing time. Now G-Man is within a second from them. And that battle is now a three-way dance. But to Psychedelics' probably delight, he has a teammate behind him who will probably be cautious to him. He lost a little bit of time, 1.5 seconds. Now the leaders are approaching the start-finish line, and with the time expired, that means that McLaren team has 1 lap to go, and you see his rival right behind him, trying to challenge as they get the white flag this time around. We look at Gem Knight, who is still chasing Waffles and Gunses, a bit less than a second between all of them. Looking further down the grid, not as close between everybody else. Neon Tigers catching up to Salt Cedar. Second between those two as they approach the NGK chicane for the penultimate time in this race. So we're looking for that battle on the last lap. Looking at the leaders, we go on board with Photon Burst, who is trying his last ditch effort to get in front of his teammate. He was in front, but that was not good enough. With a little bit of argy-bargy, McLaren team managed to get ahead. Now a fast time with a little bit of slide that definitely lost him a tenth or two. Photon Burst tries everything. He's a negative time delta. He's doing the fastest lap that he possibly can with DRS wide open right until the very end. But is this enough? It doesn't look like it with just one corner to navigate for McLaren team, as they're gonna be heading out of the last turn, and Tim is gonna exit the Coca-Cola curve as the leader and the winner of race number 1 at the Nürburgring, followed by Photon Burst, his own teammate. We're looking further down. Last effort for Gem Knight as he crosses the line just behind his rival. We move further down the grid. That's Psychedelics versus Not James. One corner to go for those two as well, and looks like there's not gonna be a move done, and they're gonna settle for 7th and 8th respectively, with the G-Man in 9th. There's a last battle on the track. We're trying to get a camera's audit. That's Neon Tiger and Salcedo, 12th and 13th. Everybody between them finishes as they are. And here is your final order, as Monochromatic is the last car to finish. McLaren team is your race winner. He is followed by his teammate Photon Burst, Mr. Grinder, the leading Audi in 3rd, followed by Gunses, Waffles, Gem Knight, the lead BMW, Not James, Psychedelics, G-Man, Trampale, Finn, Saltcedar, Neon Tiger, and Monochromatic with a complimentary spin, finishing the race in 14th position. 17 laps completed for everyone, and looks like they're gonna need to complete 34, maybe 35 more in the next race. And here is the last car crossing the start-finish line to complete race 1. And here's a lovely picture of 71 and 000 sitting in what would be the exit of the shortcut. That's McLaren Tim and Gunses. So good race from everyone involved. Let's see if we can get one driver to talk to. If we can steal one driver to talk to between the races, to maybe shake the field up a little bit and maybe unsettle the driver between the races. Hello, Tim.
Hey, Georgian. It's a very nefarious purpose you just announced there.
Of course, you totally didn't hear that. Congratulations with your win. This time you did not get the pole position, so it was definitely a harder race for you to get around your teammate and into the lead. Was it probably one of the biggest challenges of the season so far for you?
It was all right. Like, the reason I screwed up the qualifying was I could have gotten the pole by like a half a tenth, but I didn't put enough fuel in. I ran out of fuel just at the line and, well, messed it up. But yeah, I mean, I overtook Photon on track. That was a nice change for once. It was mostly DRS assisted, but he also was slightly uncomfortable on the cold tires in the first couple of laps. So after that, it was mostly about getting good runs out of corners, and then managed to keep the lead. So.
Okay, and when we saw the pass happening, we definitely saw a little bit of a touch. The camera was not in the perfect place to capture the whole fight, so we're not sure who was where. But from your point of view, what happened there before the last turn?
I mean, I think Photon said he got it a little loose on the entry of the chicane. So I mean, there's no problem. So I haven't fully watched the thing back, so can't really say anything more.
All right. Well, another one too, another win for you, and good luck with race 2, which will happen in just a moment. All right. Alright, so with that said, team definitely in good spirits before the next race, and as we're preparing for that, there's gonna be a little bit of a break to wind down, but for now, don't go anywhere, we'll be back in about 10 minutes. See you soon.
Does it improve the lives of people? That's the true measure of any technology or any new investment. And you hope to God that basic core human element is never lost, no matter how technologically advanced we get as people. So the human case has always been strong for what direct relief does. People who are poor or stuck in these terrible circumstances need help. That basic idea to listen, not impose, to be respectful and not arrogant is still as valid as it was in 1948. Principles really don't change, and I think direct relief, fortunately, started with good ones of being open-minded, kind of big-hearted with respect to people's needs, and hard-headed when it comes to other people's money. When you look back and think direct relief has played a significant role in many of the signature humanitarian events over the past 70 years, the combination of those characteristics has served the organization well, and they're sort of timeless. You're surrounded by inspiration if you see it. I think anytime, if you've never done something, or you've done something at one scale, it's scary to think how you can do it at 10 times the scale. But at the end of the basic decision was pretty easy. Why would we not do this when the signals were all pointing in the right direction? The dedication of the building is really a rededication to the cause, to the idea, and a commemoration to the people whose generosity made it possible. What it represents is a much greater capability to help more people with tools that we have embedded in it, with the experience of 70 years. To bring those together in this building so we can do more in the same efficient way we've always tried to do it is really exciting. And we are sobered by the challenge, but deeply thankful for the opportunity to keep doing what Direct Relief has been doing for the past 70 years.
bad happened to somebody in front of us. Welcome to Daytona. Checker flag. Fantastic job, everyone.
down to the pine trees, looking for lost hopes and dreams. I feel you breathing in your heartbeat, spinning tires set alight, fire on the street. These concrete skies make pitch black nights. We carve our names with our headlights. Oh,
Hi, I'm Norman Mitchell, standing here in front of Be Busy Wellness Center in Houston, Texas.
Mid-County area is where we're going. Port Arthur, Nederland, Port Neches.
We're in Canovanas, the shelter here in Puerto Rico.
We're here at Jardín Pushkin in Colonia Roma.
The hallmark of disasters is you have to do what you do, you just have to do more of it faster. 2017 has seen more large-scale emergencies in sequence than ever before in direct relief 70-year history. The people who know the most, have the most at stake, are going to do the best job with the resources they have are the ones who live there.
Just received a large shipment of critical medicine from Direct Relief.
Some gauze, some bandages for people that are managing the response and rescue efforts.
You're standing strong, united with every other organization providing primary care and critical access to those individuals who have been most impacted.
Hello and welcome back to Phoenix Racing Club as we are preparing to start race number 2. In just a minute with McLaren team and Ford and Burst on the front row once again. Speaking of front row for those two, here is the championship for support standings with one championship round to go. Ford and Burst is in the lead by 26 points over McLaren team and Gunses still in third place. You can join this series, PWC and many more coming if you follow the Discord link available in the description of the Twitch stream. Or somewhere else on YouTube. I believe it's somewhere. Close enough. In any case, we do have lights and we are about to go green for race number 2, 40 minutes plus 1 lap. The drivers are ready to go and we are away at Nürburgring for the second race, the long run into turn 1. Looks like everybody able to get off the line relatively quickly. Monochromatic is a little bit slidey, but that's okay. He still gets off the line. Gemini trying to charge down the inside. Lineups turn up front. Somebody is very slow, it looks like. It's Monochromatic who went wide into turn 1. He rejoins in last place. I believe he overcooked it on the brakes. Further down, there is Psychedelics and Zaltzi. They're fighting it out. And trying to figure out who is where right now. as the leaderboards trying to unscrew himself. Somebody misses. That would be Finn, I believe. That misses the breaking point into the sprint shortcut and drops to 13th position as he tries to scramble his way back. Psychedelics lose the position to Not James around the outside in the middle of the S's, tries to get it right back, a little bit of a slide, and now Tremple is trying to get that position back of him, not close enough. Meanwhile, into the NGK chicanes, not quite side by side, line of stern. That's Photon Burst, followed closely by 2 PRT Gold cars and Gemnite right behind them. All of them are relatively close. Waffles dropped to 6th position, followed by G-Man Zaltceder, who finds his way around Not James in 8th place. Somebody is really loose behind. That would be Tremple in car 17, who is now onto the inside lane, side by side with Psychedelics. The German battle into turn 1 for the first time in race space, and no cigar, he spins! Car 17, we finally managed to catch something on stream, probably for the first time in forever, and Tremple is having a little bit of a hard time getting back onto the track, and he rejoins in 14th and last. Meanwhile, we'll look at the front of the pack. Mr. Grinder chasing Photon Burst with his teammate closely behind, but Gunsis is currently preoccupied with Gemini trying to get around more than attacking somebody else. G-Man and Not James battling it out, trying to find that on the screen for you right now. That is the exit of the Warsteiner curve, as Not James for now sits in 7th position. G-Man tries to go around the outside, late braking, but Not James is even later on the braking, so both of them are still right behind each other. A little bit of a train formation from 7th onwards, all the way to 14th, with Monochromatic and Tremple a little bit further back. Finn is right on the tail of Neon Tiger, so it looks like it didn't hurt him that much, that miss on lap 1, and they're still pretty much close together. Photon Burst with 122 flat manages to get away from PRT Gold cars, and now he is a little bit safer. 0.7, still not particularly far away from danger, but with Gunsis close on the tail of Mr. Grinder, knowing how PRT cars are free to race each other until further notice, I wouldn't be surprised if they try and move on each other again. Neon Tiger loses the position to Finn. However, it looks like Finn overcooked the Kurtz. Let's try this again. Kurzabendung, I believe that turn is called. Please do not quote me on that. Which is basically the sprint shortcut turn, and slots right back into 12th place. A little bit too hard and too late for Saltceder, who is forced to cut the chicane, the NGK chicane entry, and is now under fire from Neon Tiger. That is for the last place in P10, in top 10. Gonna be DRS available for Neon Tiger. He goes on the inside, trying to outbrake his rival, and hard on the brakes, both of them go. Who is gonna be superior out of a turn? Neon Tiger manages to close it. Doesn't even try to close, he stays on the outside to secure a better line into turn 2 and gets through into P10. The battle for podium places is still hot, as McLaren team just pulls away from everybody over 2 seconds now, and Photon Burst is under fire from both PRT Gold. The German Mr. Grinder and the Latvian Gunsis still close and still putting some pressure. The battle between G-Man and Psychedelics behind, so G-Man must have encountered some issues as Psychedelics caught him and overtook him. And both of them now in hot pursuit of Not James, with Tremple in 14th place, a good place to be for PRT Black, as I believe even with one Monterey Simsport car in front of them, overall they are gaining some positions here, and I guess some points since they are ahead already position-wise. Switching back to our lead battle, or close to lead battle. Still line of turns, 6 minutes into the race between everybody. Further down, we seem to have a swap. Trampel manages to catch and overtake Monochromatic, now in 13th place. For the German, next target will be Finn, 4 seconds up the road. A little bit of lawnmower with his left side for Mr. Grinder. Once again, he does have a buffer of Gunsis and Gemnite between him and Waffles, who are fighting for the championship position. So that will be good news for Mr. Grinder. To a question to the commentary team. This is Assetto Corsa. We're using Assetto Corsa simulation for our championship. For more details, you can follow the link at Discord with all the details of this and many other championships. Winter series are gonna start relatively soon for us. And well, this series are winding down slowly, but the work never ends. The drivers, however, seem to not be noticing that we are, already almost 9 weekends and 18 races into the season, as they proceed to pump out laps one after the other without ever being tired. A little bit of a mistake by McLaren team allows this whole pack to catch closer to him. Half a second now between the two leaders. It was over 2 at one point. So it looks like this is the proper battle pack now. 6-car battle pack, and now everybody from 7th down to, I would say, 11th are in the secondary pack, with Psychedelics back on the tail of Not James. These two seem to be fused at the hip, really, this whole weekend. Fighting for position, swapping back and forth, and with occasional touching, they're once again right next to each other and challenging each other for position. This is for 7th place, so smack in the middle of the pack. G-Man unable to hang back with Psychedelics right now. Psychedelics with great pace, and now challenging into NGK chicane around the outside. He will have to stay side by side if he wants to pass, but no, he heals the position. Does not fancy a move here just yet, so he will wait a little bit extra before going for the move. Let's see what the laps say. The laps say Psychedelic's fastest laps was 122 flat, and 122.9 was the fastest for Not James. So Psychedelics is flying, he is the fastest, the best of the rest, and now matching the fastest lap with Waffles, who is currently in 6th place at the end of the lead pack. Trampel fell further down and back into 14th, so something must have happened to the German again coming out of the last turn. We were not exactly able to catch what happened, no yellow flags, so must have been a small mistake, maybe a half spin that put him right back into last. Meanwhile, the battle pack in front seemed to be slowly shaking off Gemnite and Waffles. The DRS opening gap is 3 seconds, so everybody in this pack still has DRS available, but over a second now between Gunsis and Gemnite, and now 2 seconds between Gemnite and Waffles. So these drivers are not exactly able to keep up with two leading teams. Trampel once again ahead of Monochromatic. So that looks like the battle of mistakes for 13th position, as we swap back and forth between them and the lead pack. Psychedelic still hot on the tail of Not James coming into the last turn. If he manages to stay close enough, he will have DRS available to him. Looking at the flap, it's not open. He will have to wait now through the buffer zone at the start finish, and it looks like he will not be opening it here as we go on board with car number 14 and see if he is able to make something happen. He has much better exit out of turn 1, but obviously there is no line really to go through unless you are challenging into the braking zone already. It's very difficult to get alongside and get something done, but Not James is not exactly having the best lines. Attempt of a crossover from 14, a little bit loose on exit, negates that possibility. Once again, his best move would be probably after the S's, after Michelin and Warsteiner, into the Advan and NGK. However, he is a little bit loose heading into the S's, which gives Not James a little bit of breathing space, a bit, what, half a second worth of breathing room. And even with DRS open right about now by Psychedelics, it will be mighty difficult for him to close the gap and get a good move going. He will try, however, as they're side by side once again, but not close enough. You will need to be closer, almost ahead of a driver into the braking zone. Neon Tiger in 10th with G-Man slowly catching up to the pack. There is G-Man already on the tail of his teammate. We'll see if there's gonna be any team orders to maybe let G-Man try now, but we're still only a quarter into the race. We have to stay on this for a little bit. A second. Psychedelics had another run, looking for a crossover, and it's not happening again. Psychedelics is knocking on the door, almost busting it down, but it's still welded shut. Brilliant defense by Monterey Simsport BMW number 73 so far. It's definitely frustrating, I bet, for the driver owner of the PRT Black, but he'll have to deal with it and find a gap to make a pass stick. The leaders still mighty close together, as is this pack, looking at 28 minutes left plus 1 lap. As we continue looking at the battle between Monterey Simsport and PRT Black. 2 PRT Black cars, 1 Monterey car, as his teammate is currently in 13th place after a spin in turn 1 earlier on. Looking at the times, 1:21.612 by McLaren team is fastest lap for him, but not fastest lap of a race. Photon Burst is doing 1:21.4, 21.4 for Mr. Grinder, 21.415 is the fastest lap of the race right now, and 21.5 for Gunses. So definitely close among the top pack. This time Psychedelics manages to stay inside, going right the outside into turn 1, so he'll have a preferred line. Heading into turn 2, he is able to stay ahead for now. James is looking for counter-offensive, but he's not gonna get there for now. Maybe attempting a crossover in turn 4, but no such luck, and that's a move done by Psychedelics. Not James trying to send it into the shortcut. Will he be able to stop the car in time? He does. And that's a move you don't see very often into the Kurtzanbinden corner. But he made it stick and back into 7th place. Psychedelics finally found a way around. That's not good enough. DRS, the letterbox, wide open as you can see. Through this whole bend and onto the straight. There's a touch. There's a little bit of a bump. And no pass as a result. Looking back, we do have 2 PRT Gold cars side by side on the start-finish straight. Let's see who has the bigger nuts and the better brakes. Around the outside goes Gunses. On the inside is Mr. Grinder, leaving each other as little space as possible within regulations. A little bit of a go faster bump from a Latvian, but he sits in 4th behind his teammate. That's a bit of space for Photon Burst to concentrate on the offensive. And a bit of a blazing for Gemini, who is now able to close that gap a little to the leading pack. That's going to be interesting how each of them responds. Remember, there is 1 compulsory pit stop at any point during the race for tire change. No tire heaters, no tire warmers, heaters, warmers, whatever you want to call them. Waffles is off the track. Waffles is off the track. That's right before the Michelin curve. So a little bit too hot on the exit, so now he's miles behind Gemini. Thankfully no challenge from behind, but that might be valuable points lost for him with a tiny mistake. Looking at that battle pack once again, let's see if Gunses is able to get something done on the start-finish straight. But yes, no tire warmers in this series, so whoever pits will have to endure about a lap or 2 of cold tires, maybe more. The track temperature is still 9 degrees Celsius. It's late fall in Germany and it's Eifel region, so the weather is gonna throw a wrench or 2, and you're gonna have to deal with it the best you can. So tactics will definitely play a role. Do you want to pit early, get the pain out of the way, and maybe slot somewhere without much traffic? or are you gonna try and go till the end? The first car is on the pit lane, and we're gonna start seeing what the better strategy is. G-Man is the first man in the pits 15 minutes after the start of the race. He'll have fresher tires now that he'll have to warm up, but he will have to run further on this compound than anybody else. He rejoins dead last behind Monochromatic. He will need to dispose of the 55 car as fast as he can if he wants to keep his bid going for P7. Further up, we're still spectating that battle between two PRT Gold. We're gonna wait and see if Gunsis maybe blinks first and dives onto the pit road to maybe try and undercut his opponent. We're not sure if undercut or overcut will be a better solution. An overtake would definitely be the best solution, but not close enough for the 000. He tries the inside line, a little bit of a send, but that's not close enough. Attempted crossover maybe here, or maybe around the outside, a good old school move, but he stays behind his teammate, unable to secure any sort of a crossover. They'll have to keep behind each other. Mr. Grande is a little bit slower over 2 at this point, despite having the fastest lap of a race right now, and that allows Gemini to close the gap, now under a second behind. McLaren team and Fordenbro slowly getting away and keeping a second between those two. Definitely might be a fight closer to the end. I'm not sure they would want to fight right now as they proceed to have a little bit of a procession. But it's close enough with lots of battles and lots of attempts. This race is lacking overtakes, not for the lack of effort from the drivers, but more for defensive efforts by the cars ahead. Not James is performing a stellar defensive race so far, with lots of attacks from the number 14 black and green PRT black car. Another attempt here, but not close enough. G-Man meanwhile goes around Monochromatic, and there we go, the first battle stop in this battle. I guess second battle stop, because G-Man was close enough. Psychedelics goes on pit lane, and now the interesting part is where will he rejoin concerning G-Man. They were right next to each other, and we go on board with the American number 19 to see if he is able to get in front of his teammate, or if he's behind. How far behind is he? On the start-finish straight with a lot of sliding, Psychedelics now goes and rejoins the track ahead, and he is now in turn 1. That small blip heading into turn 1 earlier was Psychedelics. The gap is now 5 seconds, but we're gonna keep watching because the first lap is definitely exceptionally slow on cold tires. So that gap is gonna come down to minimum gap as the lap continues. Monochromatic is the next car on pit lane from 14th. He might be lapped right now as he rejoins the pits with cold tires. We're gonna actually switch to this because leaders are coming through right now, and that might be a little bit of a spicy moment for him. He brakes early to let Photon through. Next two cars will be battling right behind him. Gunsis tries to go around the outside, unsuccessful again. Monochromatic is parked behind, and now we see G-Man going around Psychedelics. That's what I was telling you about. Having to warm up tires will cost you quite a bit of time. Now Psychedelics tries to warm them up, but G-Man is already through and away. The next car to go will be not James. Monochromatic with a little bit of an issue in Mercedes Arena on cold tires again. Not James is hot on throttle, exiting the turn. He'll be behind his teammate, but currently in front of both PRT black cars. But the gap now, as I'm looking, is 5 seconds. G-Man had 5-second gap to Psychedelics when he pit, and he managed to get a 1.5 second lead by the end of the next lap. So now James is definitely not safe, pardon the pun, from two PRT black cars, both of which already have their tires warmed up and ready to go. here looking at the gaps and looking at the battle. We're spectating car 73. You can already see the black and red car number 19 ready to challenge him. He still has to slowly and cautiously move his car around the track, and now G-Man is all over his rear bumper. He will have DRS available. Actually, no, he was in front of Psychedelic, so he won't have DRS available. But he managed to get side by side regardless, late on the brakes. Manages to make the move, stick into NGK, but he is on the outside for the last turn. The battle continues. Who is braver on the brakes as they go around the last turn? As I said, there are multiple lines available. They're still side by side. The car in front will be not James, which means G-Man will have DRS assistance and a lot of draft. He tries to go on the inside. He finds a lane, and now it's a drag race into turn 1. Late on the brakes, both of them, but G-Man able to kind of get ahead, but no, not James. Still able to pull up alongside, and they're still battling, banging and bruising, and into turn 3 they go. Still hot in the battle as it continues with a lot of bumper banging, and they keep going in an excessively DTM style, side by about half a lap now. There's Psychedelics right behind them. There was about 5 separate contacts, and there might be one more as G-Man is now ahead. McLaren team, Gunsis and Waffles all in pits. We had to spectate this to its fullest extent as G-Man is able to get ahead in the most DTM maneuver possible. Here we see Gunsis and Waffles beaten, no real drama here. Psychedelics goes around No James as well. We're gonna have another race into the NGK chicane. Another car wide, but now No James is a little bit too slow to capitalize on that. And both PRT black cars are through with a spectacular battle. Whoa, No James was robbed here, but that was a spectacular robbery. Salt Cedar is leaving the pits. He's gonna rejoin in 13th place behind that pack we were just spectating. But Neon Tiger and Finn and Trampale are all yet to pit. Meanwhile, the essential leader of the race right now, Photon Burst, has a little bit of free space and clean air in front of him to make something happen, as McLaren team also in free air but further behind after the pit stop. We'll see how that works out. Photon elects to get a little bit further. Feels like his tires are still fine. We're looking at Mr. Grinder in second place, 3.2 seconds behind Photon Burst, so Photon managed to get himself a little bit of a gap. Third car is Gem Knight, also the third and final car of the lead bunch, who elected to sit on track for a little bit longer. McLaren team, Gunsis and Waffles were the cars that pitted. Neon Tiger hasn't pitted yet, as well as Finn and Trampel, 6th, 8th and 9th. So we have a little bit of mixed grid for now. About half of them have visited pits for their mandatory tire change. Half of them are still going with 16 minutes left to go. As I said, that Finn is the next car that will visit the pit lane. He should be in roughly a battle with Salt Cedar for 13th position, currently on track. Maybe a little bit further behind. A bit of a mistake from Mr. Grinders. He exited onto the grass out of Warsteiner. That let Gem Knight close the gap a tiny little bit. Psychedelics manages to go around G-Man, so he, after being overtaken on cold tires, is now able to carve his way back through to 9th position. Salt Cedar goes around Finn, 1.8 seconds between them. Mr. Grinder is next on pit lane, so that's gonna be interesting where he rejoins in regards to Gunsis and Waffles. So we're gonna spectate this pit stop in its entirety. I'm also looking at the battle between Psychedelics and G-Man, half a second between them, and not James, another half a second back. So looks like the line of stone for now, but not for long. The car number 20 is back on track. He is currently in 4th place as McLaren team just flies by, and Gunsis would be 10 seconds back, 8 seconds back, sorry. That's still a considerable gap, even if he's gonna manage to lose most of it. It's more than it was. Neon Tiger and Trampale both in the pits at the same time, so that might be implications for the battle further on. Neon Tiger already rejoined the track. He's gonna rejoin between the battle back for 7th, but he is considerably ahead of Salt Cedar, so I don't think Salt Cedar is gonna catch up. Now for car 17, here's Trample rejoining the track right in front of Salt Cedar, but on an excessively cold compound of tires with 3-second gap. But now we have to switch because this is probably one of the most important pit stops of this race. Fallen Burst is on pit lane. Gemini follows him in. 14 minutes to go. He will have the brand new and fresh compound, but he will have it cold. Now let's see how close he was to McLaren Tim. There's a rejoin. There's Tim behind, and there will be a battle on track. Cold tire versus hot tire. But Fallen Burst is currently ahead on track. We have to track Gemini as well. Gemini rejoins in 3rd place, but we have Gunses and Mr. Grinder both on his tail with warm tires. We have to spectate this battle for the lead right now. McLaren team with warm tires, who are already decently scrubbed in, is gonna challenge Fallen Burst. Fallen is gonna be trying to defend with all his might. Let's see if something happens. On the inside goes McLaren Tim. Not much of a resistance offered by Fallen Burst. It looks like he's trying to settle. He missed the corner a little bit and settled for 2nd place. Gemini is now giving up the position for Mr. Grind on cold tires. Next car will be Gunses, 1.7 seconds back. Waffle 7.5 behind. He's not able to get this gap closed, but now is spectating. Car 15, Gemini, and the car behind him, 000 of Gunses. And actually, let's go on board with Gunses, as we might have our one and only chance to go to the pure sound in this race. Enjoy the noise of those cars. The battle for the podium continues as Gemini is hot on the tail of Mr. Grind, and Gunses, beaten earlier than the rest, ends up on the far end of the stick and now sitting in 5th, having to overtake both of them at some point somehow. The battle for 7th continues with Not James hot on the tail of G-Man, with Psychedelics a little bit further ahead. As for McLaren Team and Photoburst, 1.5 seconds between the drivers, so basically we're back to where we started. And Photo has exactly 10 minutes plus 1 lap to figure out a way to get by. 122.5 from Trampel, that's faster than Neon Tiger in front of him. And while we were away, after overtaking Photoburst, McLaren Team sets the fastest lap of the race at 121.379. So he is definitely performing at his top right after the stop. At accidental rhyme. I did not intend to be that daft. Thank you very much. As we continue, 120. Fun Burst instantly making me eat my words, posting a 121.149, which is now the fastest lap of a race. Gunz's fastest personal lap, 121.224. Hot in pursuit of Gemnite and Mr. Grinder. That's a three-way battle for the third. Mr. Grinder a little bit loose here out of turn 1, which let Gemnite close even further back, but still not close enough to attempt a pass. That pack is definitely gonna blow up at some point, and some passes or hard moves are gonna happen between all of those. But however it happens and however it ends, gotta give credit to this car number 15 of Gemnite, the returning driver who skipped most of the season, and he, after starting the first round, is right back into the pack and challenging the second best team on the grid and currently splitting them. So good effort from the American in car number 15 of Total Downforce Racing. 8 minutes left on the clock. The three-way battle continues, and another battle that we're monitoring but not quite expecting is this 7th, 8th and 9th. Psychedelics, G-Man and Not James in that order. Trempel is up to 11th, one more car and he will be right behind this bunch. However, PRT Black, two cars that are currently in front of Monterey's and leading this battle, are also in front of a championship battle. So if it stays like that, the gap is gonna widen before the last race. So it's gonna get more and more difficult for cars 73 and 17 to get back into third place in team championships. So if they want to get somewhere, Not James will need to make a move sooner rather than later, and preferably on both cars as he tries to go down the inside with a hard late send on car 19. That would be G-Man, and that might be a questionable move on lap 24, but we'll settle it later. But for now, he cleared G-Man and now in pursuit of Psychedelics. As we continue this race, we're gonna look at this battle once again. Battle for P number 3, a three-way battle between two PIT Golds and Total Downforce Racing. We have 6.5 minutes left. Drivers completed lap number 24 and now on to lap number 25 with what's looking like 5, 6 or maybe 7 if they are lucky enough more to go in this race. Still hot on each other's tail. Looks like Mr. Grinder is going for a little bit of a wider line into turn 1, which means he has to swipe across the track to fit into turn 2 and around Mercedes Arena. And his rival Gemnite, who we're on board with right now, is catching up considerably in that section. The problem for Gemnite is that he can't just send it just because he has another car behind him. If send is unsuccessful, he is exposing himself for yet another car. That is a difficult equation that car 15 has to solve at some point within the next 5.5 minutes plus 1 lap. DRS wide open, but he's not close enough. It looks like the middle sector is the best sector for Mr. Grinder, who kind of gets a little bit away. But now you see Gemnite is looking for a move. After a wobble from car 20, he drives his car inside, but is he fast enough on the exit? He uses his DRS, so does Gunz's. The flap will close at start finish, and now only the draft and the overspeed they built will be enough. Will it be 3 wide? Gunz sits behind, he's looking. They're essentially 3 wide into turn 1, and Gemnite finalizes the pass on Mr. Grinder. Gunz is trying to make a move himself to use this battle to his advantage. Gunz and Mr. Grinder side by side. Gunz will stay on the outside, that will become the inside into the next turn if he is able to stay alongside. He does, and he is not close enough, he'll have to stay behind. What a battle once again as they continue battling it out for the podium. But now Gemnite, with a beautiful move, is through 2 PIT Gold cars and into the podium place straight away. brilliant move and brilliant race so far for car 15. The leading BMW is now ahead of the leading Audi. That's the difference, 2.1 between two leaders. Meanwhile, Gunses is putting all sorts of pressure on his teammate. His teammate is not interested in fighting, just chopping off that lane and staying ahead for now. 121.3 for McLaren team. Another good lap, but not good enough to be the fastest lap of the race. 121.1 still belongs to Ford and Burst here. We do have a little bit of draft snake between two PRT goals. Gunses is looking, but I don't think he's close enough to attempt anything, so he will sit back and relax for the time being. Further down the road, we do have Not James putting fire on Psychedelics' gearbox, as G-Man is lagging a little bit further behind than he would have liked. The DRS is not open. This is not the primary place to use it. Let's see if Not James will be able to get something done with just draft alone. He already made one move stick, and now he's late on the brakes, and off the track he goes. He tries it again, but no cigar, and he has to get back on track behind Psychedelics. It was a valiant effort, but nowhere near good enough on the brakes, and he has to sit back and enjoy 8th for the time being. The time is slowly running out. He has to make that move stick at some point. Speaking of making move stick, both PRT goals still hot in the tail of Gem Knight, and I'm not sure if they should employ some team tactics here to get around the 15, or if they will try to battle amongst themselves. Here is, I believe, who is that? Is that Monochromatic? That is a car trying to get out of the way. Yes, that is Monochromatic, who is now lapped and getting some TV time here, as he's been lapped by this group. Not the best of the races for the American, who finds himself in 14th, but still trying to get his car around to the end, and he is not that far back from Finn, who's currently in 13th. He is the only car one lap down, but that is just because two leaders are between him and Finn, and catching up to car number 13, who might be in the way, actually. We'll have to monitor that. He would be probably the only car to get lapped apart from Monochromatic, looking at the timing screen. Car number 12, Salt Cedar, is currently at the start-finish, as the leader is at the NGK chicane. So not close enough. Meanwhile, the battle continues for the 3rd place. Burst is pretty much settled for 2nd right now. He's not catching up to McLaren team for the last few laps, but he is staying ahead of the battle for 3rd, and that's good enough for him in this current situation. 121 all across the board. An insane draft snake from everyone. A good old draft snake from 3 drivers fighting for the podium here. Nobody is out of contention yet. We're still continuing this battle. Looking at the leaders, they're catching up to car 13 right now. Let's see if blue flags are gonna be respected. We are obviously gonna stay on this battle on the cameras, but on the track map I'm able to see what is going on further down and all around the track. Psychedelics and Not James as close to each other as you can be, and there might be a pass, and Not James indeed makes the pass stick as they come into turn 1, and down the inside this time it worked out. And the battle continues. Not the best S's from Mr. Grider. Now he's 8/10 away from Gemini and under fire from his teammate once again. This battle pack is reheating once again. Psychedelics tries a late move, barely avoids Not James. Obviously he was not exactly too happy about how he lost that position and tried to get an aggressive move done. But now white flag for a leader who goes around lap traffic and picks up white. So, only 1 lap to go once they cross the line. If there's a move, it has to be done soon. If not, now. Psychedelics lines up a pass. He has DRS open. He goes round the outside, will have to brake late. He does not, and he slots back. He'll have one more lap worth of opportunity. We'll have to go back here. They're certainly ahead on track. They did receive their white flag this time around. So any moves will have to be done now between those three drivers. Couple of battle backs going on. The leader is pretty much uncontested on the last lap, so we will come back to that later. But meanwhile, Mr. Grinder 0.7 back on the last lap. The DRS is gonna be open here for the final time if he still has laps remaining. Yes, he does. We do see that gap in the wing, but I don't think that's gonna be close enough. We're gonna move further back. That's the battle coming out of T4. I believe there was a mistake from G-Man, who is now 5 seconds back, but there's no pressure from behind, but now he's no longer part of that battle, as we do have McLaren team crossing the start-finish line, taking the win in race number 2. Meanwhile, cars exit the last turn as Gemini saves his position, but now we're looking at this battle. This battle coming out of the S's, and for the last time, last DRS zone, and last probably overtaking opportunity. Is car 14 close enough to make a late send, or is he settling back? He's looking for it. There's a hit, there's a crash. Off goes not James, but obviously after that move, Psychedelics is not fancy trying anything. He tried, but he did not succeed, and he will come for home in 8th place behind not James, who might have saved the season for Monterey Simsport, at least for now, going around both PRT black cars closer to the end of a race. As Psychedelics comes home 8th, Jimin in 9th, Neon Tiger in 10th, Trample 11th, Salt Cedar in 12th, Finn in 13th, and Monochromatic 14th, the last 2 lap down. And here is your race leader and championship leader, car number 71 of McLaren team, once again on the top spot, being congratulated by his fellow racers as he is coming back to the pit lane. Brilliant race apart from the qualifying lap, but he managed to regain control of it, get ahead, and secure the victory over his teammate. And speaking of his teammate, let us see if he has anything to say about this weekend, as we are gonna start looking for people for our little booth, as he gets promptly brushed as he continues to do his donuts for 2nd place. Hello, Fodon, do you hear us?
Hello.
So, this weekend started exceptionally promising for you with the pole position, but then I paused for a brief second to note that Gunsis is currently reversing down the pit road. Anyway, a little bit of slower pace overall compared to your rival, and you find yourself once again in the 2nd place. Did you feel like you had something to offer to against team race pace wise, or did you know that he would be slower in the long run?
Well, to be fair, the quali run was a pretty good lap for me, and I think just a lap with mistakes from Tim. So that was kind of lucky. I think he even ran out of fuel on the final lap that he was doing, so I think that was my saving grace there. And then for the longer runs, yeah, like I thought I was going to be slightly down on him, but I think I was actually on pace with Tim. But it was just that for some reason I just didn't really have my day today. I think if I had a bit more form, I could have challenged him a little bit more, but I was just making tiny mistakes everywhere, and that just really quickly adds up around this track. Not to mention that Grinder was also really fast, and so I sometimes just had to defend from him and also use a bit more DRS than I would have liked to not, lose that spot. But yeah, it was just a really good drive from Tim, and like a decent but not good enough drive for me. That's kind of where it ends.
Okay, I do believe, looking at my timing screen, that you did set the fastest lap for the race 2. It was 1:21.1, as I see here. The first race, I believe, was slightly faster, but in any case, there was a close fight. And thinking about, well, race 1, talked to Tim about that little touch when you exchanged positions for the lead. How did it look from your point of view, that battle and that slight collision?
Well, I mean, especially considering the support series, we were kind of gentle this time around. Yeah, I don't know. Like, he made a move around the outside, which is fair. The chicane is just a really tight place. I braked where I would normally brake, I would say. It was just that I guess the tires were just under the optimal pressure. And so as I braked, the rear stepped out a little bit. And because I hit the apex, but I just had to correct a little bit. And yeah, of course, Tim was alongside already. And then, yeah, he went a little bit deep into the final turn where I already was. But I think it was fair. It wasn't really a hindrance to either of us. It was just, you know, we left just about enough room. There weren't any repercussions, so I think it was fair.
Okay, well, I'll let you go celebrate another 1-2 for your team. And good luck in the last remaining weekend of the season.
Yep, thanks so much.
Alright, let's see if we can... let's see if we can quickly grab the returning driver here. Jem, do you hear us in the booth?
I got you.
Hold on, you're a little bit quiet. Let's see, that's better. Well,
is that any better?
There you go. A little bit of a hiatus for you. You, I believe, participated in the first weekend of this season and now back for weekend number 9. I believe you did have a hardware change between those. Share your thoughts on how that affected you and your pace in this field.
Yeah, that affected me a lot. Like, I can actually feel what the car's doing now. I've upgraded from a Driving Force GT to a T300. It's just a world of difference. It's smooth. I can feel understeer with the, I think it's one of the add-ons in Content Manager. I just never felt anything like that in my old wheel.
You definitely had a great result with the new wheel, getting around both PRT Gold cars and kind of causing a little bit of turmoil against them, almost making them fight harder than they would have liked between those two as well. So now with with your return and one more round to go, do you feel like maybe at Hockenheim, which is the last round, do you feel like you'll find a pace to challenge the top 2 drivers, the Timberwolves?
No.
That was
no.
Very short and to the point answer.
I mean, I was barely able to get with the third, so I mean, I had to push. That was the hardest I've driven in a very long time, so I'm very happy with third.
It was definitely a great weekend for you and catching podium at the end of it, so congratulations to you and good luck in the final weekend.
Thank you.
Alright, let's see who else we can grab here. Who else had an entertaining one? Dun, 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 dun. It's a difficult choice. Let's see. This driver we picked, if you can hear us, to start with the question of why the hell are you facing backwards on the pit lane?
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
we totally did say that. But interesting weekend for you. Pretty much locked in the battle between, as usual, your teammate, but now Fortin was closer, and the new challenger appears in Gem Knight with Waffles pretty close as well. So I believe the PIT Gold was not really in a tight pack before, so how did it change your racing perspective, and how did that change your racing overall this weekend?
Most certainly it was a bit more difficult trying to keep up with everyone, keeping Gem behind me, and then I missed the pit box for a bit, got 3 seconds about lost there. And I think it was a bit interesting because I kept fighting with the grinder when he was doing some mistakes, and we kind of lost the gap to Timberwolves or fighting with Gem.
It definitely grew, but at the same time, that provided us lots of entertainment. Now with Gem in the fight here for podiums, I believe you're pretty much safe championship-wise, but Mr. Grind is still locked in the battle with Waffles. He gained quite a few points, but with one race to go and anything happening, do you foresee any team tactics, any team help or cooperation into the last round to help your teammates secure that spot?
I guess we'll have to see what kind of decisions we'll make, if we make any at all. Maybe we'll just do the usual. So yeah, we'll have to see. If there's a chance that I can help him out, I will probably do that. But we'll see.
Alright, thank you and good luck to you at Hockenheim.
Hey, bye-bye.
Alright, I believe we have time to grab one more driver. Let's see who we can grab. This guy, Psychedelics, who was locked in the battle with Not James and, well, his own teammate this entire weekend. Do you hear us in the booth?
I do indeed.
Well, that was definitely interesting among you, your teammate, and your team rivals. I believe you came out on top, but we'll have to still count points. But there was a little bit, quite a few questionable moves from everybody around, so it was a bit of a scrappy race overall. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I told you to Monterey guys after race 1 already that I wasn't quite happy with their moves into, well, exiting turn 2. They kept pushing us wide, but I can look past that now. I'm sure I didn't have an entirely clean race, especially turn 4 track limits, probably a few violations. And overall the racing was pretty good, I think. Just a few, questionable moves.
It was definitely very close in the mid-pack. There was a huge battle back for basically both races coming back and forth. Before we get into that, shall we expect any official protest coming from PRT Black?
I'm not sure. I will have to watch the replays first. Really, only one move from James that I'm not exactly happy about was the block into T5 in the shortcut, in I think the second to last lap it was.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but that move of the mid-pack, that was probably the tightest and most saturated mid-pack battle we've seen this season. I know it was quite a different thing for the leaders to have to race harder in the tighter pack, but as for the mid-pack driver compared to maybe the last round, as you didn't participate the whole season, how did it change with basically about 7 or 8 cars being able to overtake you if you make a big mistake at any time?
I think it was great. Really, I only saw the James and Tramphead and G-Man most of the time. And I wasn't even aware that the pack behind us and in front of us was battling just as hard. But now, knowing that, and yeah, I'm hoping that we can continue this trend of participation into the next round.
I definitely share that sentiment. Well, good luck to you, and hope to see you next round at Hockenheim finale.
Yeah, I hope to be there.
Alright, so with that said, as soon as my monitor unfreezes, I can fix it. Yeah, there we go. With that said, that is gonna be it for us for today. Thank you everybody so much for watching this whole race, and if you're here at this point, up top you see the ticker for the direct relief campaign. We're still running our direct relief campaign for Phoenix Racing Club 2020, and if you fancy doing so, you can donate via the links in the Discord and I believe under the Twitch channel. Also, you're free to join our Discord where you can find the additional information on the series, as well as join the participation in this support series and many others, 2 of which are now being prepared, with one already announced as Formula 1 History series that will run through the winter of 2020-2021. And another official announcement will drop later today, so if you're interested in see what Phoenix Racing Club has got to offer, make sure to stay tuned shortly after this race to see what's going on. And I believe on that note, that is gonna be it. That's gonna be everything I have to say, and we'll see you later. This time much later, as I frantically scroll my calendar because I totally remember when is gonna be the next race, which is gonna be on Sunday, November 22nd, is the season finale. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll see lots of cars fighting it out for every last point until the very last lap. Thank you very much for watching, and this note from Phoenix Racing Club, this is goodbye.